Hello and welcome. Let's do a pick a card. Since the last video I did was about shadow work, I kind of wanted to stay in that lane. I feel like that's a big part of what's going on these days, and we need to kind of pay attention to that stuff. So what I want to look at here is unblocking a fear, which is a major part of shadow work, is unblocking fears and anxieties and working through traumatic events, which usually result in some sort of fear. So what I want you to do right now is pause the video and think of a fear that you have, no matter how small or big. I want you to pause the video right now and think of a fear that you have. Okay, now that you have that fear, what we're going to do is pick a card on what you can do, actions to take to help you unblock that fear or figure out the root cause of the fear, or just anything the cards can show us that will help you with releasing the fear, or and mainly usually it goes back to identifying a trigger, which would be identifying an event, most likely in childhood, that caused you to be fearful of something. So let's get in there. I'm going to go ahead and start doing stacks, 3 stacks. I am just using this deck. This is Simplicity Tarot by Emily Muniz. It was a Kickstarter deck, which I love. She may have these available on an Etsy shop. I don't know. If I find links, I'll put them in the description. But pick up those ones that fail. Oh, look at me putting them in backwards now. Oh my, look what I've done. Okay, nope. You guys, I am losing my stuff today. Okay, I think we're all good there. Now, we do another shuffle, and we'll do 3 stacks. So you have your fear in mind. These are still pretty stiff. They are very thick, sturdy cardstock, so bear with the shuffling. So you have your fear picked out. And now we're going to look at what you can do to unblock it, okay? So I'm going to pause while I make the piles, because nobody watches that. You know what? I decided to not pause. I feel like, I don't want it to look like I staged the stacks or something, so those are sticking. Okay, that's a lot of cards on that one, okay. Oh, there we go. All right, and all right, go ahead and pause if you need to. Pick a deck or a stack. All right, so if you picked stack number 1, we're going to start there. What can you do to unblock this fear? All right, we have Temperance, Patience for sure, the Ace of Wands, the King of Wands, and the 7 of Swords. So, there is a lot of action in here, but there is also kind of inaction. So the first card that we see is the Temperance card, which is about patience, taking your time, not rushing things. So I want to say, don't try and jump into healing whatever this is. Don't dive in head first. Like, if you're new to shadow work, it may not be time for you for this fear that you have thought of. But you can still take action, because the wands are both of these wands cards are about action. So this is a creation. I like the creation for this. Wands are fire energy, which is, motivation, doing things, physical, like activities. But it also relates to spirit, as far as like an elemental element aspect, whatever. but it's also the ace, so it is the beginning. So you're wanting to tread lightly and take it one step at a time, having patience and moving into then, the first step. So I feel like if you chose this pile, you're probably a beginner. And if not, if you've been working on shadow work for a while, it could indicate that it may be time to start from the beginning, to maybe go back to the first steps that you were taking and reassess those. That's kind of what I'm getting here. We have the King of Wands, who is the fire leader. I feel like this could represent a fire sign, Leo, Sagittarius. Oh my gosh. What is the third fire sign? If you already know that you're dealing with a fire sign, this could be you as the fire sign. But I like to notice his hand placement in this one. He looks like he's thinking more. Now, I did say that the wands were about action. Sometimes planning and thinking can be considered an action, and I feel like that goes really well with the having patience, taking things slow, and starting with step one. That first stage and that taking tiptoes into it could be about thinking it through. I've said before, the wands are relating to spirit to me. So this could be getting in touch with your guides. This could be representing a guide of yours that is trying to help you kind of weigh your options and see what your first step should be. Then we have the Seven of Swords here, which is about sneakiness and thievery. It's feeling like you have been ripped off in some way. So as for action, I feel like what this is putting it all together is that we need to start with the basics. I feel like this is basics. If you don't start from the beginning and, contemplate your steps and your vision for what you want, you're going to feel at a loss. You're going to feel like something is missing. Okay, you're going to feel like something is missing. So don't jump too fast, too far forward into the process, because you might miss something here. And, it may feel like somebody took it from you or it was stolen, but really it's about you not being prepared, okay? And so those steps will be missing. But overall, I also believe that this could be indicating not being really present, mindful in your head, because the swords are about thinking, and seven's kind of a unsure, unsteady number for the suit. So it's kind of, maybe you're not getting all of your thinking processes in there. But it also could be relating to the fear that you have chosen, being one about being afraid of losing something or being afraid of something being stolen from you. So this could just be, validating that's the fear that you have chosen to look at. So that's what I have for stack number 1. Let's move on to stack number 2. All right, stack number 2, 5 of Swords, Page of Wands, Justice, the 10 of Coins, and the 9 of Swords. Well, okay, there's a motorcycle. Thanks for letting us know you're there. Okay, so I feel like it's as if you know what this fear is that you're dealing with, and you are having trouble addressing it as kind of like a reason for doing that. I feel like is just not wanting to see it, not wanting to relive it, not wanting to experience it. But also I feel like this could be something that that you don't know. Like it could be on opposite ends of that, if that makes sense. I feel like it's something that you haven't seen, but you know is there. but it could be something that you know about, but you kind of are turning a blind eye to it. Okay, we have Justice being blind, being the blindfold. This first card looking away, this one looking down. I feel like it's a kind of could be a refusal to look at the situation, knowing what it is, or not knowing what it is, but knowing something's there. I know that sounds a little confusing. I'm sorry, but it has to go either one. It could be either for you. So let's get into each card individually. The Five of Swords being defeat. Fives are conflict. Fives are switching up. Fives are what's the word that's like there's a T word that's trying to come up. Trepidatious? Yeah, something like that. It's tower. Like tower moments seem like fives to me. So the Five of Swords is conflict and defeat. I like the words on the cards, but I also don't, because I feel like it pigeonholes the card. And then if I say something different, it's like, well, that's not what the card said. But it's a feeling of defeat. When I see this card, I think of to the victor go the spoils. So I feel like there's a winner and a loser. Okay. And I feel like that's kind of what you're relating, whatever fear you chose to, is either being a winner or a loser. Like there's no in between. That's what I get from this card. It's conflicting emotions, conflicting thoughts, but it could be feeling defeated. So it's kind of, do you want to be the victor or do you want to be defeated? So you're either defeating or you're defeated. And there's no in between. There's no compromise. That's kind of what I'm getting. But relating to the fear that you've chosen, I feel like this could be something about possibly feeling like you lost a game or feeling like you lost a competition of some sort. Like there is a competition. We have the Page of Wands, which is, learning a skill, learning something new that is like an activity. So I feel like whatever this fear is stems from a learned behavior. It's something that you, and if you go back and look at my shadow work video, it will kind of explain a little bit more on this, but their learned behaviors are things that we do now that are toxic are because we went through some sort of trauma, and that trauma, when you're young and you have not developed coping skills, that trauma causes a childlike response to how to deal with the situation. And that's kind of what I feel is going on here. It's you're reacting in a way that is not what is the word? If you go back and watch the shadow work video, it explains better. It is a longer video, but it goes through the steps that I use to work on shadow aspects. But it's you learn bad ways basically to deal with traumatic things, and you learn unhealthy coping mechanisms, and I feel like that's kind of what that's relating to as well. So we have Justice card, which I already said kind of is indicating to me that it's you're turning a blind eye, not wanting to see something or not being able to see something. But again, also justice is about balance and fairness. So it could just be that you, in an effort to be fair, you're trying to ignore a situation where the situation itself was unfair, and you're just trying to kind of like sugarcoat it or make it easier for the other people involved. Something along those, you're trying to make it seem fair when it really wasn't. It wasn't fair to you, but you're kind of being like, okay, well, it's, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. I'm trying to avoid conflict. Okay. So you either let them win and be the loser, or you won, going back to this card. But yeah, so I feel like it's not balanced, and you're trying to pretend that it's balanced by not looking at it, not addressing the situation. We also have the 10 of coins, or the 10 of pentacles, which is obviously about wealth and family unity, but the coins, the pentacles are earth energy. That's our physical stuff. That's our body, that's our home, that's our job, our career, whatever along those lines. The things that you can touch, feel, that's the same thing. Taste, observe, the things that you can see, taste, touch, use those five senses for. It's more about that and having the fulfillment, or the 10 can also be the end of something. So it could be indicating an end of a cycle. Okay. So having to do with your money, your wealth, your home, your things. I feel like, again, this is indicating more of an end than a wealth, like it says in the keywords. I feel like this is more representing an end to something, kind of like over here, like the game is over. You either won or you lost. And I feel like that's kind of this. It's pulling that as well as the game's over, or at least that you feel like the game is over because somebody else won, or didn't win because you were trying to just let them win because it was easier than having conflict. We also have the Nine of Swords, which is, not being able to sleep, stress, anxiety, worry, sleepless nights, thoughts. Like literally, I see these swords kind of going through her head. It could also indicate physical pain in your head. If you're having headaches, it could be related to this trauma, or whatever event or fear that you are trying to work on could be very much causing headaches. I also feel like there is a possibility that this fear that you're holding on to may be the result of a head injury that you either forgot about. So that could be something to look into if your fear is relating to something to do with the head, your physical head, your brain, your eyes, your hair even. I feel like that may be something to look into if you do like an inner child meditation, focus on the head. Was there a fall? Was there a fight where you struck in the head? Something along those lines is kind of coming from forward on that card for me. But it could be internally with your thoughts and your minds. That the sword is air energy, represents your thoughts. So it could just be relating to the fear itself. But I really do strongly feel for someone that there's something to do with a head injury or, being struck in some way. So yes. As for actions to take on how to bust through the fear is really, I feel like, taking the blindfold off and looking at it for what it is, letting a cycle end. If it's something that you keep trying to play out in your head about how you could have won or how it could have been, you could have defeated them, or how they defeated you, or whatever the case may be, I feel like you're playing it out over and over in your head with that stress too. That you're like perpetuating the cycle, and the cycle is supposed to end. So I feel like it's maybe a time to release whatever that childish response is to, like, I just, like, on the playground being a sore loser. What was it they taught us? Like when I was in junior high, we had to learn, like, what is it when you're a courteous player or whatever, like when you, not the opposite of a sore loser. It's kind of like losing gracefully, like bow out, it's over. So I feel like looking at whatever that was and putting an end to a cycle that I feel like you keep perpetuating because you just want to know how it could have gone differently. But it's time to let it go and let the cycle end. Learning new coping skills that were not as a result of programming in your youth will be big here for you as well. I do feel like there is some kind of coping mechanism involved that was a response from a childlike stage in your life where you didn't know how to deal with something. And so you kind of invented your own way of feeling better, and it may not have been very healthy, and it's keeping you from looking at the situation. So I feel like you should consider, I invite you to consider removing the blindfold, looking at the situation and putting an end to it. Like, this is how it turned out. There is no going back, going forward. And I feel like possibly getting some medical care. There could be still a lingering physical issue as a result of whatever this fear stems from. So that's stack number 2. We're going to move on to stack number 3. All right, stack number 3. The Death card. The Four of Wands. This is very interesting. The Ace of Cups. The Five of Wands. The Sun and the Seven of Cups. Let me get those where you can see them all. Okay, I feel like this needs to be here. Okay. Wow. There's a lot to unpack here. So the Death card, obviously death is an end, but the Death card is more of an end, removing something from your life to make room for something new. We have that. Okay, that's why I was called to kind of pull them down. The Death card, look at these 2 cards. Okay, these are both very happy cards. The Sun is the what would be arguably the happiest card in the deck. It is success, like it says. I feel like something needs to leave your life. It's time to leave whatever this fear is behind, because it's keeping you from having a happy life. It's keeping you from success. It's keeping you from a relationship or a successful project that you're working on. The Four of Wands is the stability card. Stability. 4 is a stability number for me. But also in this card, we see the word celebration, and that's what it looks like in almost every deck. It's usually a pairing of people with the 4 under the canopy. But also a lot of people point out the way the legs of the canopy, or whatever you want to call them, looks very similar to 1111. So you have the 1-1-1-1. That's how all of the Four of Wands cards look in pretty much every deck. It looks like a wedding. It looks like a pairing, a celebration, and a union. But it's not a 2, it's a 4. So the 4 is more about stability. Think of it in terms that comparing the 2 and the 4, we have the 2 people and you're thinking union wedding, but that's like riding a motorcycle. There's going to be tilt. There's going to be, other things to, like, if you're making a turn, you have to, like, it's a very precise way of doing things, where if you're in a vehicle or a car with 4 wheels or more, then you don't have to worry about that tilt, right? That tilt only comes if something very forceful knocks it over. So what I feel like is happening with whatever this fear is, it is keeping you holding on to something that's supposed to die, that's supposed to be left behind, because it needs to make room for whatever this is that's trying to come into your life. There is something trying to come in, but you haven't made room for it yet. Moving forward, we also have the Ace of Cups, which is basically a new love. It's having your emotions fulfilled in a way that you've never experienced. For me, I feel like it doesn't necessarily represent a person coming in to love you, but it's how you've learned to fill your own cup. Your cup is overflowing because you're putting in the work to keep it flowing. And then more cups down here. This is about having lots of options. Now, this could be taken either way. Having a lot of options can be good for some. If you're easily overwhelmed, though, it can result in conflict. It can result in not choosing anything because you don't know which one to pick. Even if you know the contents of the cup, you still don't know which one because you're too worried about being on the right path that you don't pick any path. So what I feel like for action here is just is a release. So I feel like you've already identified this fear. You I believe, know where it comes from. Okay. Okay. I believe you know where it comes from already. Like maybe you've already identified the problem. And I feel like in all of these, I don't know if you've watched all 3 sets of cards. That last card to me keeps indicating what the actual fear or event is. And I feel like it came with a fight, like maybe a family fight when you were little. Maybe you witnessed an altercation or were involved in a physical event, physical traumatic event. But I keep in the last card of all of these, I feel like that's indicating what the problem is, where it stems from. So I feel like maybe these readings ended up trying to help you point out what the event was that caused the fear. But even though my intention was to give you action steps. So as for action steps, I really feel like just the release. I don't feel like there's anything physically that you need to do physically with your body other than loving yourself, learning to fill your own cup, and being more decisive on things. You aren't letting whatever this trauma was go. You're holding on to it because I feel like there are good memories tied to this. Now, I'm all over the narcissism stuff is in my feed and narcissistic abuse recovery. I feel like that could be what's going on here. I'm really feeling pulled toward the term intermittent reinforcement. And that is where you have traumatic events, and then when you were a child, your parent would, shower you with gifts after they beat the crap out of you or broke your toys or, broke your TV or whatever. And then they would come back later and celebrate the day with you to kind of apologize, but without acknowledging and taking responsibility for their actions. So that's that intermittent reinforcement. That is meant to reinforce their love, to explain their sorry, but without them actually saying, hey, I messed up. I'm sorry. Let me make it up to you. It won't happen again. And then it doesn't happen again. That's a normal response. But in emotional abuse, gaslighting, and intermittent reinforcement type situations, you could have a parent or a partner or a series of partners that do mean things or horrible things or say things or hurt you in some way or try to make you feel stupid or less than. And then, they know they fucked up, but they can't acknowledge it. So they try and give you this fun stuff to try and make you feel better. So what ends up happening is when you're trying to release those traumatic events, they're linked and tied to good events. So in order for you to let go of the bullshit, you have to also let go of the good memories that you have with this person or in this place or whatever. So I feel like the death card is here to tell you that you can let go of those positive events. And I feel like that's where you're struggling, is if you let go of the bad stuff, then you have to let go of the good stuff too. And that's not true, because when you let go of the bad stuff, and if you let go of the good stuff that goes along with it, understanding that the intention behind that good stuff was not pure. The intention behind that good stuff was to distract you from the bad stuff. But understanding that and knowing that, you can let that go because it's going to let even better back in. You have that Sun card coming up for you. Once you release this traumatic event, which I feel like you've identified, you know what the fear is, you know where it comes from, you just can't seem to get over it because I feel like because you're not letting go of the good memories that they've associated with those bad memories. Also, look up the term trauma bond. I feel like that has a factor in it. But I feel like it's here to tell you just you need to release it, work on releasing it, and know that it's okay. So you may have to do meditations. You may have to do positive affirmations or any of those like cheesy woo-woo things might work for you in an effort to release this traumatic event and the positive memories that are associated with it. Because once you do that, oh my gosh, I really, really see such good things coming in for you. So I feel like that's what I've got for you. Thank you so much for watching. Check out this shadow work video. I feel like this is helpful for everyone, especially with what our planet is going through. So yes, I'll see you in the next video. As always, have a blessed day.